What if I told you that for over 100 years the primary purpose of school hasn't been to educate? That it hasn't been about nurturing curiosity, fostering creativity, or unlocking the unique potential within every child? This might be hard to hear, but the system of mass education we all went through was designed for a different purpose altogether. A purpose that has very little to do with learning and everything to do with control. Imagine a factory. Not a factory that builds cars or electronics, but one that produces a specific type of person. A person who is punctual, obedient, and capable of performing repetitive tasks without asking too many questions. Now, picture a modern school. The ringing bells that dictate movement, the neat rows of desks, the rigid timetables, the focus on standardized answers. The similarities aren't a coincidence. They are by design. Stay with me. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a story rooted in history, economics, and a vision for society that took shape during the Industrial Revolution. Most of us assume education is the great equalizer, the undisputed pathway to opportunity. We believe that a good school is a launchpad for a good life. And for many, it has been. But when you dig just a little beneath the surface, you uncover a hidden curriculum, an unspoken agenda that has shaped generations. It's an agenda that prioritizes predictability over creativity. It values compliance over curiosity. In this system, the ideal student isn't the one who asks the most challenging questions, but the one who provides the most correct answers. It's a framework where following instructions is rewarded more than forging your own path. Over the next few minutes, we're going to pull back the curtain on this system. We'll explore its origins in the factories of the 19th century. We'll examine the mechanisms it uses today, from standardized tests to crowded curricula, to achieve its goals. We'll look at the profound impact this has on students' mental health and their innate love of learning. And most importantly, we'll uncover the growing movement to reclaim education with powerful alternatives that are breaking the mold. To understand the present, we have to go back to the past. Before the mid-1800s, mass public schooling didn't exist. Education was a privilege for the wealthy, often conducted by private tutors. For everyone else, learning was informal, practical, and tied to family, community, and apprenticeships. But then, the Industrial Revolution changed everything. Factories needed a new kind of worker, one who would show up on time, follow orders from a supervisor, and endure long hours of repetitive work without complaint. The agrarian, independent mindset of the past was a problem for the new industrial capitalists. They needed a workforce that was disciplined and standardized. The solution? A new institution called the public school. Early proponents of compulsory schooling, like Horace Mann, were explicit about this. They argued that schools would act as the great balance wheel of the social machinery, molding children into docile, efficient citizens and workers. The Prussian model of schooling, which was designed to produce obedient soldiers, was imported and adapted. Its core features became the blueprint for American education, and eventually, for systems around the world. Bells to signal the start and end of periods, mimicking the factory whistle. Age-based cohorts, batching students like products on an assembly line. A top-down curriculum that discouraged dissent and critical inquiry. Now let's be clear, this system also produced immense benefits. It dramatically increased literacy rates, provided a common civic language, and offered a ladder of social mobility for some. It was a tool for nation building. But we must acknowledge what was sacrificed in the process: the cultivation of individuality, deep critical thought, and intrinsic motivation. The goal was not to empower every individual, but to create a predictable and manageable populace. So how does this industrial age operating system still run our schools today? It operates through three key mechanisms. First, standardized testing. These tests aren't primarily designed to help students learn. They are designed to sort and rank them. They reduce a complex human being into a single number or percentile, making them easy to categorize. They force teachers to teach to the test, narrowing the curriculum and pushing aside subjects that aren't easily measured, like art, music, and open-ended inquiry. Students are sorted into roles, not guided toward their passions. Second, the tyranny of the timetable. The entire school day is fragmented into 45 or 50-minute blocks. This structure rewards punctuality and the ability to switch contexts on command, not deep, immersive thinking. Genuine curiosity doesn't operate on a bell schedule. A student might just be on the verge of a breakthrough in a science experiment, but the bell rings, and they must immediately shift their focus to a historical date or a grammatical rule. Deep learning is sacrificed for administrative convenience. And third, the crowded curriculum. This prioritizes measurable outputs. By cramming an immense amount of surface-level information into the school year, the system ensures there is always something to test, something to quantify. This relentless pace leaves little room for exploration, for rabbit holes of curiosity, for the messy, inefficient, but ultimately profound process of real discovery. And why is this obsession with measurement so important? Because it allows schools to be easily compared. It allows districts to be funded, and it allows the entire system to be controlled. This data-driven approach creates a powerful illusion of objectivity and accountability, while often masking deeper inequities and stifling the very creativity our modern economy supposedly demands. The impact of this system on students is profound and deeply concerning. We're seeing epidemic levels of anxiety, depression, and burnout, even in young children. The constant pressure to perform, to be measured, and to compete turns learning, an inherently joyful act, into a source of stress. It extinguishes intrinsic motivation, the desire to learn for its own sake. Instead, it fosters extrinsic motivation. Students work for grades, for points, for the approval of teachers and parents, not for the love of knowledge. This system also perpetuates and even amplifies social inequities. Families with resources can afford tutors, test prep, and enriched experiences that give their children an edge in this competitive game. Meanwhile, students in under-resourced schools, who often need the most creative and engaging instruction, are subjected to the most rigid, test-driven regimes in the name of closing the gap. The factory model, once intended to create a uniform workforce, now sorts children into winners and losers with chilling efficiency. But the good news? The story doesn't end here. People are pushing back. All over the world, a revolution in learning is quietly underway. Educators, parents, and students are building alternatives that break the factory mold. We see it in the rise of alternative schools, like Montessori and Waldorf, which prioritize child-led, holistic development. We see it in the explosion of project-based learning, where students tackle complex, real-world problems over weeks or months, developing critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity along the way. Instead of memorizing facts about ecosystems, they are restoring a local stream. Instead of reading about history, they are creating a documentary about their community. We also see it in the resurgence of apprenticeships and vocational training, which provide direct pathways to skilled careers, honoring different kinds of intelligence. And in the digital realm, micro-credentials and online courses are decoupling learning from traditional institutions, allowing anyone to acquire specific in-demand skills on their own terms. These are not just fringe experiments. They are powerful proof that another way is possible. So, what can you do? You don't have to wait for the entire system to change. You can start reclaiming real learning right now. The first step is to question the default. Recognize that the system is not the same as education. For learners of any age, the most powerful act is to learn how you learn. This is called metacognition. Start a learning journal. Ask yourself, when do I feel most engaged? What kind of problems do I love to solve? Do I learn best by reading, listening, doing, or teaching others? Explore techniques like spaced repetition and active recall to make your study time more effective. Go beyond the curriculum. Use the vast resources of the internet to dive deep into topics that genuinely fascinate you. Build a project, start a blog, join a community of fellow learners. For parents, you can advocate for change in your local schools. Ask for less homework and more project-based work. Encourage portfolio assessments instead of just test scores. And at home, protect your child's time for unstructured play and exploration. For educators, even small experiments can make a huge difference. Try dedicating 1 hour a week to student-led inquiry. Flip your classroom. Connect your subject to real-world issues. Your courage to deviate from the script can reignite a student's love for learning. The industrial model of schooling served a purpose for a world that no longer exists. Today, we don't need more cogs for a machine. We need creative problem solvers, lifelong learners, and compassionate, engaged citizens. We need people who can navigate uncertainty and collaborate to build a better future. The old system is brittle, and it's failing. But by questioning the default and actively choosing to learn how we learn, not just what we're told to learn, we can begin to build its replacement. We can cultivate a new ecosystem of learning that is personalized, human-centered, and truly empowering. The future of learning is not about standardization. It's about personalization. It's not about compliance. It's about curiosity. It's not about control. It's about empowerment. We've only scratched the surface today. If you want a follow-up video with a practical blueprint on how to design your own learning path or transform your classroom, let us know. Hit subscribe.